Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
I'm excited to get started this morning in our conversations on CARICOM. CARICOM marking this year its 50th anniversary of establishment of a region and a place known as CARICOM. And joining us as we look at that and the contribution of the leaders of Barbados over time is Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comissiong. Ambassador Comissiong, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. Pleasure to be here as usual.
Thank you so much. I was just a little boy when CARICOM was formed 50 years ago. I'm not aging myself. But nevertheless, I've lived to see how some of the benefits and many of the benefits that have derived over the time of CARICOM. Let's talk a little bit about CARICOM as we mark out its 50th anniversary and how Barbados and Barbadian leaders, particularly the Right Excellent Errol Barrow and the Right Excellent Sir Grantley have contributed to its success.
Yes, this year we're going to spend a lot of time looking at CARICOM in our 50th anniversary year. But one of the things we want to do in Barbados is to really focus on the many Barbadians who played really critical roles, not only in establishing and developing CARICOM, but establishing and developing the entire Caribbean integration movement. And when we think about it, the two greatest heroes right across the Caribbean, the two greatest heroes of Caribbean integration have to be two Barbadians, Sir Grantley Adams and Right Excellent Errol Barrow. Of course, we want to go on to look at the role played by other leaders, Curly King, for example, Fred Cozier, Prime Minister Erskine Sandiford, Prime Minister Owen Arthur, Prime Minister Mayor Amor Motley. But the undisputed two heroes, the two giants, are Sir Grantley and Prime Minister Barrow. And if I could just give Barbadians a little sense of why I say these are the two giants. We have to go back to the Federation. And we have, right after the people's uprisings all across the Caribbean in the 1930s, the Barbados Progressive League, which is the parent organization of the Barbados Labour Party and the Barbados Workers' Union, is established. And in 1938, labor leaders from all across the Caribbean come together in Trinidad. And it is Sir Grantley Adams, the leader of the Barbados organization, who puts together a draft constitution for a federation of the Caribbean. So in 1938, Pearson, the labor movement is calling on the British government to establish a federation, and they're calling for a federation, an independent federation, and Sir Grantley becomes the carrier of this idea in that he drafts the draft constitution. And it is initially rejected by the British government, but by 1947, the British government seemingly has a change of heart. By then, the Caribbean labor movement is very strong. The British government calls a conference in Jamaica, and the Caribbean labor movement has a pre-conference in Jamaica where they confirm Grantley's draft constitution. Grantley is made president of the Caribbean Labor Congress. And so, yes, so Grantley is right at the start. Grantley is leading this charge on behalf of the Caribbean labor movement. Eventually, the British put the federation in place, but critically, it is not Grantley's initial idea. It is not a federation, an independent federation. So that's the first fatal flaw in the whole structure. The labor movement says, Norman Manley, you're the head of Jamaica. Jamaica is the biggest and most influential. You should become prime minister of the federation. He says, no, I have to take care of local politics. I have a man called Alexander Bustamante trying to become leader of my country. I can't afford. It falls to Grantley. Grantley says, I will do it. So he becomes prime minister of the federation, and the federation does some good things. I mean, you know, it starts a shipping corporation. We have 2 ships running across the Caribbean. It consolidates the University of the West Indies. We have a new campus of UWI established in Trinidad, the St. Augustine campus. It's established meteorological services for the region and so forth, a few things. But the Federation becomes a tragedy. And it becomes a tragedy because first it was sold out by the British Colonial Office. And then Trinidad, both Jamaica and Trinidad began to have second thoughts. You know, they felt now that they were making economic progress. They really felt that they didn't need these other Caribbean countries. They could go it alone. Jamaica pulls out, Trinidad pulls out, and Sir Grantley is left as the boy on the burning deck. Sir Grantley is a heroic figure. He tries to save the Federation. He's left standing all alone. He's betrayed left, right, and center. And so the Federation collapses by 1962. Then Mr. Barrow steps into the picture. You know, immediately Mr. Barrow is elected Premier of Barbados in 1961. What does he do? He immediately goes to Trinidad to say to Eric Williams, look, Jamaica has pulled out. I will support you, and let us keep the Federation together, Federation of the 9, and let's really build it. Eric Williams lets him down. Trinidad pulls out as well. That doesn't deter Mr. Barrow. He says, I am going to try Barbados to put together a federation of the so-called Little 8. And for 3 years, he tries. He brings in the political leaders of the Eastern Caribbean territories to Barbados to have discussions. But again, it is let down. Many of the leaders aren't really serious. The British government isn't serious. They refuse to really put up the finance required. And so eventually Mr. Barrow says, look, this isn't going anywhere, but you know what? I have an idea. We're gonna still save the Caribbean integration idea by establishing something called CARIFTA. We're gonna establish a free trade area. He calls Premier Forbes Burnham to Barbados in 1965. And they put together the idea of a Caribbean free trade area that Mr. Barrow says, look, it will start as a free trade area, but it will evolve into a common market. It will evolve into a CARICOM then. And although we're going to start just Barbados, Guyana, and then Antigua came on board, it is going to be open to all the others to join. And so said, so done. CARIFTA was launched in 1968. And by 1973, just as Mr. Barrow predicted, it would evolve into a common market. So it evolved into CARICOM in 1973. So Pearson, from the time of the Workers' Rebellion in the 1930s, right up to 1973, when CARICOM is established, it is these 2 Barbadian giants, these 2 heroes, who are the main carriers of the idea of Caribbean integration. So Mr. Barrow, along with Forbes Burnham, Dr. Eric Williams, and Prime Minister Michael Manley, they signed the Treaty of Chaguaramas in 1973. From 1973 to 2023, 50 years. We're going to be looking at 50 years of achievement, but it is important that we start with looking at how CARICOM was founded in the first place and who were the 2 heroes, that were responsible for that formation.
Ambassador Comissiong, I'm sitting here enthralled by your delivery of the history. Honestly, you've delivered it in such a way that it's easy to understand and for us to appreciate the work of the Barbadian leaders and the challenges that they faced and how strong they were in spite of the headwinds to persist so that we don't have and enjoy 50 years hence something that we call CARICOM. There's much work that still needs to be done and our leaders continue. And there are other people who've crept into the picture as well who are technocrats Democrats who would have also helped to develop and establish CARICOM. And we will also, over the series, be talking about them too and the work that they have shared as well. So, Ambassador, I have to leave it there, but thank you for clearly telling the story of Sir Grantley Adams and Errol Walton Barrow, our national heroes, and how Barbados has been a part of the development from 1938 till now and the establishment and sustenance of CARICOM. Thank you very much, sir.
Pearson, I'm hoping that as we look at Grantley and Errol, Grantley Adams and Errol Barrow within the context of what they did for CARICOM, we will come to recognize that, we tend to think of them as two separate personalities, but we will come to see that in many, many ways, we should really see them as two complementary historical personalities. We sometimes forget that Errol Barrow began his political career in 1950 as a member of the Barbados Labour Party. He went into Parliament as a member of the Barbados Labour Party. He was a member of the Barbados Labour Party, for 5 years before he broke and established the Democratic Labour Party. And even when he was trying to win the government in 1961, he never made the Federation an issue. He never attacked Sir Grantley on the issue of the Federation. He was always supportive. So we need to rethink these two figures and their relationship. And this is a good year for us Bajans to do so.
I can't wait to learn more about it indeed. So thank you, Ambassador, indeed, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Pearson. My pleasure.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What a conversation on CARICOM. If you didn't know, perhaps you know now the contributions of these two giants whose shoulders we stand on today and their contributions to the development of what we enjoy as free movement, as a common area of trade within CARICOM, as everything that we know as CARICOM today. Sir Grantley Adams, Errol Walton Barrow, how complementary they were, how they were of one mind, and how leadership today continues to be of one mind, the development of the peoples of the region through CARICOM.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.